Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey, hey.
He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
It's going well. We're back talking Dynasty Fantasy Football, Superflex, tight end premium, mock draft. If you aren't familiar with the first episode, stop what you're doing. Go back to yesterday's episode, which we covered only rounds 1 through 3, because we really went in depth on each pick on those ones. So we'll do a little bit of that here going forward for these next couple rounds, and we'll start slowly pick up the pace. Slowly.
And then we're going to get to lightning round. This is part 2.
So this is part 2. So I highly encourage you to go back and listen to that show. And we're going to pick up right here. We're in the 4th round, pick 401. Matt is on the clock. His previous picks were Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and right before this picks, you have back-to-back picks when you pick at 112.
Yes, you do.
Was Jalen Waddle.
Waddle.
And we'll refresh you what we had
as we get it.
We picked beforehand. If you're following along on YouTube, you can see the board. If you're not and you're listening to the show via the podcast, via your radio or any way or headphones, we will share the link on Twitter with this to Sleeper with the draft board.
Visual aids.
So you can visually follow along and get into the league, which is on Sleeper, our friends over there, which also check out the Sleeper Mini, where the Dynasty Nerds GM is built into the Sleeper app. So at 4-1, Matt, your team currently consists of 2 quarterbacks, Jordan Love and Brock Purdy. Jalen Waddle, where did you go at pick 4-1?
All right, 4-1. I decided to dip my toe in that tight end water. And
this was not the one I was expecting to go second off the board.
No?
It was not. So I not that it's a bad pick at all.
Yeah.
Just wasn't the one I was expecting.
All right, so I went ahead and picked Dalton Kincaid. Listen, end of the year, I think we've seen some special things with that connection between Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid. It hasn't been as consistent, and it wasn't throughout the entire season like Sam Laporta's production. But I do think now going forward, we're going to see a lot. I think they're going to be a little bit closer than their end numbers would indicate. How about that? And Dalton Kincaid, just a special player and a guy that has some Travis Kelce. Listen, no one's Travis Kelce, right? Travis Kelce is his own man, right, and he's going to be very hard to get. But he does have some movement skills and some run after the catch type of stuff that Travis Kelce does have. So Dalton Kincaid is my pick here at 4-1. I wanted to get in there before Rich got a chance.
Yeah, and in non-tight end premium leagues, non-tight end premium, which is his tight end premium.
This is tight end premium.
This is tight end.
Here was Dalton Kincaid's PPR points from week 7 on. So week 7, 15.5, 17.5, 16.1, 16.1, 10.6, 8.8. He had a bye week, 7.1. They didn't play. Then only 1.7, but then 12.7, 15.4.
Yeah, there was a little dip there right at the end of the season.
But even 7 and 8 doesn't kill you at tight end. It doesn't help you like you want it to. It was really only that 1 week that killed you.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much talking there in a tight end premium league. He's averaging you right around almost 20 points per game. That's wide receiver 1 numbers, essentially. To give you a kind of idea for when you go to tight end premium,
wait, he's averaging 20 points per game? Where'd you get that?
Well, he put the premium on. He was looking at
with the premium.
He's looking at non-premium
that makes
numbers.
sense. I was like,
then put
all
the
of those were in the
top.
teens, and now we're averaging 20?
No. So, yeah,
okay,
if you had the extra half point per
part.
reception, which he'll still see heavy target shares, he's getting closer to that 18.5 to 20 point per game point total.
Yep.
And you're talking now on average. I mean, CeeDee Lamb averaged 23.7. He was wide receiver 1 overall. Tyreek Hill, 23.5. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 20.7. Those, and then outside of Keenan Allen, who averaged 21.5 points, nobody averaged over 20 points per game. So now you're talking like Puka Nacua, right? Puka Nacua was wide receiver 4 overall in a year, rookie sensation. His point total average, and he was consistent throughout the whole year, 17.6.
And listen, Gabe Davis is there. He's going into his free agency year now, right? Stephon Diggs, who knows what the heck is happening there?
We talked about him a couple weeks ago.
Did you? I didn't hear it. What was your guys' analysis of Diggs going into the offseason here?
He was originally his sell high, but we kind of talked him out of it because he's been depressed in value so much right now.
Okay.
But he is like
everybody's trying to jump.
But he said midseason I would still look to sell.
He fell off hard.
He fell off hard.
He week 7 on.
Yeah, and there's been so much smoke in every single offseason, it feels like, with them in Buffalo. I feel like this is one of those things that is going to end sooner rather than later. You know what I mean?
You never know.
I haven't looked at the contract.
It would be a tough one to get out from. We did look.
Real
it
tough.
would be tough.
The best out they have is after this year. Going into it, they'll have like a $13 million dead cap hit after this year. This year, there's no way. It's $30 million. Like, he's locked in. There's 0% chance he goes anywhere. But after this year, they could probably eat about $13 million.
Okay.
I believe.
All
This
right.
year I checked. I had all the numbers. I had all his
I
numbers. It was $30 million.
I didn't even bother checking because in the back of my mind, I know I have looked at them and I thought it was something that they really couldn't get out of. But who the heck really knows? You know what I mean?
It's $30 million cap hit. Yeah,
okay.
This year, 29.75. So, but Ben Kincaid, look at those numbers. Overall for where he finished in his value, it gets me really excited. Again, during his rookie year, for how long he's been playing the actual position or playing football as a whole, makes him a very exciting prospect. And he's not cheap. But again, what looks like an overpay today could be an underpay tomorrow.
It's true.
And Dalton Kincaid fits in that perfectly. And I love that you went on and got that guy, because if he was there even remotely, I was praying somehow, some way this round that Kincaid or TJ Hockenson would fall to me.
And the good news for the listener is we're going to take 10 minutes every player. So this is like going to be like a 4-hour episode.
So hold on. Before we move on from Stephon Diggs, his 2024 numbers are, he's got a $31 million dead money, but he's got a $27 million cap hit. So it's not as,
I know, but if you're going to eat the $31 million, just pay him the $27 million. And Brandon Beane already came out and said he's our wide receiver 1 this year. Don't worry about it.
But you could post June 1st that and split it and make money on the cap. That's all I'm going to say. They can if they want
Let me put it this
to.
way. I feel like this is the last year Stephon Diggs is in Buffalo.
I agree with that.
I think he'll probably be here this year.
I agree with that, but if this offseason there's more,
like he talks about Brandon Beane's mama.
If something happens, it could be this year. And
Grandmama?
Exactly.
Don't cross those lines. Not. Oh, my kids call their grandma Nana.
Nana or Nana?
Nana. Yeah, Poppy and Nana.
Gotcha.
Shout out Poppy and Nana. Huge with the assist.
All right, so
next on the clock
is Jared at 4.2.
He takes Jonathan Taylor, which now this tells me 100% I feel very comfortable that I got Marvin Harrison Jr.
Correct.
Yeah, and now I have it. Now that pick of 1-3 in the second round makes me feel very comfortable that now I could pivot based off that pick. So like I no longer know it's Drake May. I have 2 stud receivers in my eyes projected in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Garrett Wilson. So he takes Jonathan Taylor. Then rookie pick 1-5 goes next. Then Trey McBride. Then Kyron Williams. Then TJ Hockenson to Peter, which I love this pick. This is kind of like when Christian McCaffrey got hurt and his value dipped, where you can just get him for like a first. You're getting, in my eyes, what was just 2 months ago the number 1 overall dynasty tight end in my rankings.
Was this the player that you thought I'd be taking there?
I thought it would either be him or Andrews.
Okay,
that you would be taking there. But honestly, you can make a good case for any one of the next 4 guys.
There are really, listen, those guys are pretty close, right? I mean, all 3 of those tight ends. It boils down to Kincaid is young. He's not coming off an injury, and these other guys are getting up there in age a little bit, and TJ Hawkins is still pretty young, but they're just getting a little nicked up. I mean, Dalton Kincaid's time will come; he'll get nicked up. And
sure,
hopefully that's not.
Now with my homemade cooking, he won't. It's a word of nutrition out there.
Hopefully that's not for another 3 or 4 years. So, whatever.
So after Hockenson goes Brandon Ayuk, then Mark Andrews, then I'm on the clock here. And this was a player that I knew I could probably get right around here. And it was Deshaun Watson. Still 20.
I think everyone saw this one coming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Put on a billboard. And, he's only 28 years old, still locked into that contract for the foreseeable future. They'll keep pushing that money downfield.
And the good news is they got Ken Dorsey to make him worse.
Can you calm down? You calm down over there.
Just like you did Josh Allen.
Speaking of worse, did you see Arthur Smith going to Pittsburgh today?
Oh my gosh.
Another Canada. Run it back.
Oh
I saw somebody tweet out. They're like, great hire, Arthur Smith. Week 1, Calvin Austin, 9 targets. Book it. Like something along those lines.
The only person I'm excited about is all my Najee shares. Outside of that, not excited.
Yeah, so I take Deshaun Watson. He's my quarterback too. I feel pretty good on the upside here still with the weapons they're going to put around him. They're going to try and open his passing game. It's still a good team, still good offensive line. Deshaun Watson, will he come back? I don't know, but when you talk about love, love brings you to tears. And Deshaun Watson's still in the same tier as I had some of these other quarterbacks. So I went with the one that with the love in my hometown team. I felt pretty good about this depressed value. He hasn't done anything. QB1 upside here to go with my other quarterback.
That he hasn't done anything.
So, I'm looking for consistency here.
He's so consistent.
2021 and before.
Consistently
from
done.
high school until about 2021, we're talking about a very consistent high-end quarterback. And then
this is Anthony Richardson levels.
Yeah, things got real gross. It took a turn for the worse, but here we are, and I'm pot committed.
Listen, man,
Got my guy.
it's a bad pick. I'm just gonna move on. Moving on.
After that, it went Devon Achane, and then Garrett. You were on the clock at 4:11.
I am on the clock at 4:11. I don't hate my pick here,
You don't sound like you love it though.
but I kind of wish I would have taken the player that went next because I think I could have gotten both. But apparently Tristan loves Michael Pittman Jr., and I didn't realize that. So I ended up taking DJ Moore. Part of that was I have him and Michael Pittman neck and neck. The reason I took him is in case I could get that stack with DJ Moore, Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I wanted the opportunity for the stack there. Stacks don't matter too much, but if it naturally falls in, I'm cool with it. I prefer that, but I'm not going to.
It's a best ball thing.
Yeah, but I'm not going out of my way to make it happen. But
It's a receiver thing. You want to stack your defensive back.
in retrospect, I probably would have rather had Michael Pittman Jr. So I am a little bummed about that, but still feel really good about DJ Moore. He looked really good this year. He was really consistent, especially when Justin Fields was throwing the football. So
he's an elite receiver in my eyes. He's
so good.
Always have been. I've said this on the podcast a ton. I have so many DJ Moore shares. It's not even funny.
And even Matt's come around. Yeah.
Listen,
Did you come?
I was around.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. There's just some things you don't talk about on a podcast.
That is from a movie. For those of you that don't know what Rich is talking about.
For what it's worth, DJ Moore was wide receiver 6 this year. He had a fantastic
I am coming around on DJ Moore. He did look good this year. What did he end up? You said
wide receiver 6.
6. Yeah,
Pretty sticky the way you're talking.
and I was slow to come around on Stephon Diggs, and now he's a bum. And
Wow. Yeah, just like
What
over the
takes
last 4 years.
Yeah, it takes you 4 years to come around on a player who's putting up high-end wide receiver 1 numbers.
You know, guys, I finally come around on Steve Young, but now he's a bum. So
no, my whole point was, so it's
I
probably
mean, Steve Young hasn't done anything in years. So
Guys, I hate to say it, but I don't think Julio Jones will be a wide receiver 1 in 2024.
as soon as I came around on him.
my whole point is.
Jeez.
My whole point is, pump the brakes on the DJ Moore love, because when I'm slow to come around on a wide receiver, by the time I get there, it's usually when the bottom just drops out. That's all I'm saying. So expect another year at tops of DJ Moore production, and then
he's
going
win-win.
I was going
It's
to
either
say, for
Justin
being
Fields
the
or
wide
Caleb.
receiver guru, when Rich and I are in lockstep against you so far, we're 2 for 2. I'm just saying,
so far.
2 for 2.
Well, it's about you learn, as we talked about. So now you know. No
Now
one's
you
half
know.
the battle. Go, Joe. Guys, I got to tell you about my friends at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, they have the pre-NFL Draft 2024 Best Ball is live on Underdog. Draft your favorite rookie sleepers you've discovered in the Dynasty Nerds film room. Play in $3 contests all the way up to $1,000 contests. Draft your team and never worry about setting a lineup. You need to get in on this action ASAP. Sign up at Underdog with the promo code NERDS. And Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 for new members only. And yes, Dynasty Nerds is still giving new users a free Nerd Herd and Dynasty GM annual bundle membership with your deposit of $10 or more at Underdog by using that promo code NERDS. So you get all our tools, all access to the Nerd Herd by putting a $10 deposit down in there. Your Dynasty Nerds promo code will be sent by email within 48 hours of sign up. New members only. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-HOPE-NEW YORK. In Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789. And then after DJ Moore, it went Michael Pittman to Tristan Cook. At the turn at 5-1, where'd he go, Garrett?
Yeah, he went with Saquon Barkley here, which I don't mind that pick. He is a guy that's getting a little up there in years. We just haven't quite seen the elite production. However, he is a free agent.
He's a free agent.
We could see something interesting happen there. So this next pick is when I realized I need to, even though I just updated my running backs, I need to update them again.
Yeah. It is a pretty constant type of thing.
Because even from when we did our tiers, I had Spears at running back 12.
And I had him really high.
You had him at 11. You had him one spot ahead of me.
Really high.
Really high. And I look at...
But I also had him in that next tier, too. And I explained why.
You did.
And this is why. This is why I had him here.
But at the time, I had Kenneth Walker ahead of him. I had Etienne ahead of him. I even had Javonte Williams ahead of him. And one other guy I thought.
I'm blanking out on who they hired there in Tennessee. I'm having like one of those.
Callahan. Brian Callahan, the OC from Cincinnati.
First coach hired.
He was, yeah.
That's why I can't remember, because it was such a long time.
Such a long time ago. And I went with Spears here at 5-2. And this was probably the one that on the surface was a reach. Because ADP-wise, I could have waited 2 rounds. But we're drafting A with Rich, who also loves Spears, and his 2 picks behind me, which I'm guessing you might have gone that route.
I would have gone that route.
Okay.
If he was there, I was taking him. He was my target.
Which shows that you even need to update as well, because you used to have Kenneth Walker out of him, and you said you would have taken Spears out of him.
Same tier.
Okay. All right. But all that being said, that means I have him somewhere around running back 7, 8, and I had him at 12. So I need to even do another update. Now, granted, of all of my picks, this is probably the riskiest one that I made. He has not proven to be this guy, whereas all of these other players that I've taken before that have been top guys at their position at one point or another. Spears hasn't yet. But when you look at after you get past Walker and Etienne, the running back position gets really, really ugly, really, really fast. Whereas there's still a lot of good wide receivers left. So for me, it might have been a reach, but it was a worthwhile reach, and I would do it again. So
I love the pick, so I would have taken him.
It's a good pick. I had something in my head to say, and then you kept going, and it went away. So
I've learned from Rich. You just keep talking, and then nobody's got any rebuttal.
That's my rule of thought. And then when I get done talking, you repeat yourself exactly what you said before to reinforce of your whole point, even though you just said it, and you throw in a couple more sprinkles. That it'll come back. Other people might think are funny, and then other people 50% won't. But hey, that's why your name.
5 picks from now, it'll come back to me.
There we go. All right, Devontae Smith went next. He was the other player I was kind of considering with Spears. So it was going to be one of those 2 guys. So I think that was a good pick there by C. Pauly. And then Rich, you're up.
Yeah. So I was like, man, if Devontae Smith comes to me, I'm going to be in a real tough spot here because I'm looking at this position just like you. I look to all the teams to my right, and so we're in pick what here? Pick 5-4. So I am pick 4. So 8 other teams to my right. Out of all those teams, combined running backs taken for all those teams,
2.
All 8 in 5 rounds, 2.
2. Yep.
So I was like, man, this is about to get real ugly real quick at running back. And I was like, man, if Smith is going to be there, like, it's going to be hard for you to pass, but Kenneth Walker was like that. Him and Etienne were like those last 2 running backs. And I still don't know if I love Etienne long term. And I was like, this is it. Kenneth Walker is like the last running back I feel comfortable with as like, and that's even like as a low end running back one, because this is somebody who's still real young, only 23. I know he finished the year as running back 19, but he did average 13.3 points per game. He had 9 out of 15 points, 9 out of 15 games over 10 points. He averaged 13, and like when you look at his numbers compared to last year, which he was a dynasty darling, he averaged 13.5 fantasy points per game in 22. He averaged 13.3 this year. So it wasn't that much of a difference. You know, his yards per carry dropped a little bit by 0.5 from 4.6 to 4.1. But besides that, I mean, he was still involved a little bit in the passing game, just a little bit. 7.7% target share his rookie season. That came down just a little bit. But even what I want to see is, like, how does Zach Charbonnet look when he was a starter? And Kenneth Walker looked better than Charbonnet. Now, I know they got a new coaching staff coming in.
We don't know.
Everything's kind of out the window now with that.
Well, we don't know,
But that being
can hurt us in this point.
Yeah, and that being said, like, I still believe the talent would trump out, and Kenneth Walker will be the guy there.
And it could be a boost for him. I mean, this new coaching staff could be more of a, hey, we'd like to feature one guy. So and if Walker's that guy, then it could be a huge boost. But there's definitely some risk involved.
And I thought about here, I was like, man, I can get Bryce Young. You know, I know I don't love him, but he's a 1-1 quarterback, first overall pick. He's got time there. Mm-hmm. They bring Brian Canales in from Tampa Bay as their head coach. Mm-hmm. Like, he did real good with Baker this year. Drake London is intriguing for me there, but I was like, dude, I know where it's going to go. If I don't take a running back here, I won't have any running back. Like, my running back would be like Rashad White is running back 1. I feel really gross. So I did Kenneth Walker.
I mean, I think it's a good pick if you're in this scenario and you say what you said. You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's these two guys on this team that doesn't even have a coaching staff right now. There's a lot of unknowns. But I like this guy's talent. And if you have that strong feeling, like this guy above this guy from a talent standpoint, well, then that's the guy you should go out on a limb for and make this kind of pick. Because I do feel like you are going out on a limb, because there are safer guys. There is Travis Etienne's out there. He's likely a safer guy for next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
And I love Walker's. They can run between tackles, but I love his outside ability. I love the fact that he can make players miss consistently. We saw his rookie year. He was number 2 overall as a rookie and making defenders miss. He was 12th overall this year. So this is somebody that goes out there. He makes plays. Where Etienne's more of a get the guy ball and kind of go. Sure. Walker, to me, is more of a complete running back.
And I like Walker more as well. I'm just saying, I think there's a little bit of unknown with Kenneth Walker.
Sure. 100%. Anytime you get a new coaching staff, there's unknown. But I always believe in talent rises to the top, and that's where I believe in Walker. And I said the same exact thing when I drafted Zach Charbonnet. And I bumped him down drastically to the back end of the second round. And people were like, what are you doing, Rich? Are you insane? And then we had Tajay Spears in the first round. And people were like, oh, the nerds are idiots. The nerds are idiots. They got Tajay Spears in the first round, Zach Charbonnet is saying the back of the second round. And I was like, yeah, because Kenneth Walker is a significantly better running back. And Tajay Spears is a really good running back, better than Zach Charbonnet is anyways, and Derrick Henry's old. So, yeah, of course it is. You're looking at this as a nearsighted game, and I'm playing Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Playing 40 chess, baby.
And look, and here we are.
A year later?
Less
than a year.
10 months later, and you ask anybody in this Dynasty community at all, who'd you rather have? Zach Charbonnet or Tajay Spears? 100% that weren't playing games would take Tajay Spears. Yep. If you could take Zach Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker, I would assume 90% of the people would take Kenneth Walker.
I would agree with that.
So that's where we're at. That's why you listen to Dynasty Nerds podcast, suckers.
Yeah, boy. Next one, Devi to Dynasty took Drake London. Then our second rookie wide receiver off the board, Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Was the second one.
Yeah, I like that pick.
I don't either. It's
with the ball.
crazy to see how far he's come. We had then a run of 3 quarterbacks, but not necessarily the 3 quarterbacks I would have assumed. There was a guy.
I agree.
And we already touched base on Kirk Cousins. Happened later. I would have thought he would have gone actually before this group for me. I have him in the same tier as Goff and Watson. So it was a little bit surprising to me, but we had Bryce Young go, then Baker Mayfield, then Will Levis. All of those have some varying levels of risk. The Levis one especially that Harbaugh took, that one scares me with the new coaching staff. They like to get their guy typically.
Second-round draft.
Second-round pick, not a first-round pick. So could he end up being their starter? Absolutely could. Mm-hmm. But in the 5th round, I need a little bit more safety than that person.
And his quarterback, one's Lamar Jackson. He went the 2 tight end route. So he's got Sam Laporta and Trey McBride.
Yep.
His number 1 receiver is Nico Collins. So his team right now is Lamar Jackson, Will Levis, then Sam Laporta, Trey McBride in his flex, and Nico Collins. So no running backs, no wide receiver twos. Interesting way to go. But I understand where he's like, okay, I need to get young at quarterback, and I understand why he went Will Levis. Little risky maneuver, but we'll see.
We'll see. Next pick, Sedated Fork took his second rookie pick, which that would be pick 106.
I think it's 6. Yep.
Which I found out later will be Brock Bowers.
If he's available.
If he would be available, which I would imagine he has pick 5 and 6. I can't imagine Brock Bowers going in the top 4.
So he's getting Bowers and a Dunze here, which
probably
I like that. So he's got Brock Bowers, Puka Nacua, Roma Dunze, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. I love the youth, and I love that. That's a really good upside dynasty team where he probably won't come in and win this first year, but in 2 to 3, even as soon as next year, he could have a team that's a good competitor. It depends how the rest of his draft goes.
I found this out later, which was unfortunate to me because I was hoping with one of my future picks to sneak in and get Brock Bowers, but it sounds like he would most likely be gone. So last 2 picks of the round, DK Metcalf at 5'11", and then Matt, you were up at 5'12".
Yeah, and at 5'12", I actually picked the other Seattle wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Sorry, Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's another wide receiver on that team as well, but I wouldn't be taking him here. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Loved the tape coming out. Obviously, didn't have the year that we all wanted him to have.
What kind of the year we expected, though?
That's exactly what I was going to say. But kind of the year we expected. Slow playing it. It's probably going to be another couple seasons before he really hits his stride and becomes the player that we all think he's going to be. And interestingly enough, DK Metcalf is obviously the alpha there now, but in 2 years I could see that flipping and it being Jackson Smith and Jigba. I just think he is a more well-rounded wide receiver. I don't know how well DK Metcalf's, let's just say his frustrations, on-field frustrations, will play with the new coaching staff. I think Pete Carroll was really good about that kind of stuff and being able to manage personalities and kind of keep him cooled as much as you possibly can. But it'll be interesting to see if DK Metcalf's outbursts become more frequent once Pete Carroll's gone. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. My pick is more about Jackson Smith and Jigba than it is about DK Metcalf. And he's just a really well-rounded wide receiver and does everything really well. There's going to be some uncertainty whether or not Geno Smith is going to be back as a long-term type of guy, or the new coaching staff's going to bring somebody in. But regardless, Jackson Smith and Jigba is just an ultra-talented guy.
Attention Dynasty nerds. Want to play Dynasty like a pro? Check out FFPC, where serious Dynasty leagues have thrived since 2010. You can dive into a world of over 1,500 leagues with stakes ranging from $100 all the way up to an elite $5,000 league. FFPC isn't just a game, it's a community. With unique formats like TriFlex and year-round trading, it keeps the fantasy spirit alive all year. Here's my favorite thing about FFPC leagues. They stand the test of time. They've never had a single Dynasty league fold thanks to their orphan season. When you join an FFPC league, you can count on it staying around. They've completely revamped their Dynasty for sale pages now on the web and app, making it easier to scout and snag the perfect Dynasty team. Have you ever dreamed of turning a diamond in the rough into a champion? FFPC Orphans offers that exact thrill. Join the ranks of savvy managers at FFPC. Use our code NERDS for $25 off. Visit myffpc.com. Explore the Dynasty landscape. Find your next challenge. The FFPC, where your Dynasty journey begins. Remember, that's code NERDS for your special discount on your next league.
And how do you follow that up at 6-1, the first pick in the 6th round?
Yeah, and at 6-1, I ended up going T. Higgins, a guy that's set to hit free agency here. Worst case scenario is he's back in Cincinnati, and he's playing number 2 to Jamar Chase, which we've seen him be a borderline wide receiver 1 when he's healthy for a full season. And here he is, my third guy.
This was one of my favorite picks of yours, Matt, personally. Yeah. I thought this was really good value here. I think he belongs in the same conversation as Pittman and Moore and Devonta Smith and those guys. I think he belongs in that same tier, same conversation. And his ceiling, I mean, like you said, worst case scenario, we know he can ball out with Cincinnati. He's been a top 15 wide receiver before with them. Yep. But if he's the number one receiver somewhere else, I mean, we could see that skyrocket
with a heavy target share. And I really like Matt's team here. What he's done so far: Jordan Love, Brock Purdy at quarterback, Jalen Waddle, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, T. Higgins there at receiver, and Dalton Kincaid at tight end. I mean, he's got youth everywhere.
It's definitely a very
so
young
we're
team,
talking before. I was like, the first 4 to 6 rounds, you want to build a core. I think Matt, being at 112 here, no trades whatsoever, did a really excellent job of building the core that you want, which is the young receivers, the core top end tight end, and 2 good quality quarterbacks. So he's faded running back here, where I kind of reached on Kenneth Walker because I saw him in that last tier. Mm-hmm. And we'll see how he does the rest of his team at running back. But at least he has a young team, but also a young team here that could compete in year one if Jackson Smith, Jigba is a solid if he puts up wide receiver 2 numbers, and T. Higgins does go somewhere it could be a wide receiver 1 to go along with Jalen Waddle, who outside of this year was a wide receiver 1 his first 2 years of the league. So after T. Higgins at 6'1", it goes to 6'2", and we go Zay Flowers to Jared. Then we go Jordan Addison, then Travis Etienne, then rookie pick 1-7. Then it goes Kyle Pitts to Peter, and I will say I was really hoping Kyle Pitts would fall back to me. I was
hoping that as well, but I knew he wasn't going to get past you, so I kind of lost hope.
Because when I was looking at Drake London when I took Kenneth Walker at 5'4", and I was looking at Drake London, I was really considering Kyle Pitts there. I was like, the new offense is coming in there. They're gonna open up a little bit more. They have to the Rams quarterback coach.
They have got to use him better than Arthur Smith.
And this is just great value.
It is. It's a good pick. It is a little surprising with him because we had 2 guys take 2 top tight ends. Harbaugh took Laporta and McBride, and then we had Peter take both Pitts and Hawkinson. So interesting strategy there. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I understand kind of bullying up at tight end a little bit, but on the flip side, in a perfect world, you're not wanting to have to start your tight ends in your flex spots unless they are going to ball out. And these guys could, so we'll 100%. See.
And that gives them cushion for Hawkinson to come back next year. And if Kyle Pitts does ball out, now he's in a good position to trade one of these guys, and he'll get something very good in return. So absolutely. I like this pick. I have no problem doubling down. I would double down here if I had to, if Kyle Pitts was still on the board. And there's still a part of me going, man, I wish I got Kyle Pitts, but I'm okay with the tight ends I got, so we'll get there. Mm-hmm. So after Kyle Pitts, it goes Travis Kelce. And again, this is going to a team when we said he took Tyreek Hill, he had a pivot to a win now.
Right.
And he's right on track, right? Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. That's a good win now team. And wait till his next pick. It's also a win now pick as well. So it goes Travis Kelce. Then it goes Josh Jacobs, and then I'm on a clock here at pick number 9.
Didn't see this one coming.
And, I have Marvin Harrison Jr., I have Garrett Wilson, I have Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson. And I'm looking at tight ends, and I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I can get a tight end when it comes back. Could I take James Cook here to solidify my running back position? I could. But I felt
no. Give me that tiny tank.
I felt pretty good about some of these veteran running backs I thought I'd be able to get later, and I was right. And I took Tank Dell.
Woo.
And I know it's surprising, but this is somebody I can't deny. When I saw that they brought back Bobby Slowick and they gave him a raise. They brought back Gerard Johnson, the quarterback coach, and they gave him a raise. This was a player when Noah Brown got hurt.
The visual of that.
You want to say something?
The 1-man tanks, the little tiny tanks.
Oh, I've seen those.
That's just what I pictured in my mind when I said that. I'm sorry.
When Noah Brown got hurt week 2, Tank Dell entered the game, and from weeks 2 to week 12, he was wide receiver 13 overall.
He was nuts.
And he averaged 17.6 points per game. In just 10 games, he had 47 catches for 709 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's my wide receiver 3 here. So not only am I extremely young at receiver, I have Garrett Wilson, Tank Dell, and Marvin Harrison Jr. I feel very, and Justin Herbert. if Deshaun Watson busts out, Kenneth Walker's out of the league in 2 years, I know the core of my team is set for the heart, like the number one positions I really want. I know I can find a running back anywhere. Worst case, if I have to trade for an older quarterback, I could probably make that happen if I could compete. But I feel really good about my receivers. So I take Tank Dell here. I thought it was tremendous value. I mean, when I'm looking at guys, I could have considered Deebo Samuel here as somebody who I was possibly interested in. Jaden Reed was somebody I was also interested in here. But I could not pass up exactly what was on the field as a rookie from a third-round pick in Tank Dell. And the fact that they didn't lose their offensive coordinator. They didn't lose their quarterback coach. Like we said, same thing about the Lions offense. Everything's still intact. I'm going to expect that CJ Stroud's going to be better. They have a better rapport next year. I can expect about 17 points per game from Tank Dell going to next season. They don't need to attack receiver, even though it's a deep draft, because they have young guys in Nico Collins and Tank Dell. So I feel very good about this. I think this is really good value for my team.
Yeah.
So after that, it goes 8-10. And then it goes James Cook. And then
6-10.
Yeah, 6-10. I apologize. Then Garrett, you're at 6-11 here. Where do you go?
Yeah, I went with what I felt was the best receiver on the board. A guy that's, kind of right in the middle of his prime right now. He's shown us a lot this year. And that's a guy in Deebo Samuel. At times he can put up legitimate wide receiver 1 numbers. We saw him finish the year as wide receiver 3 a few years back. Had another really good year. Went on the field. He was a little dinged up, but went on the field. Really good numbers. So getting to pair him up with DJ Moore feels like 2 solid receivers that he didn't have to pay a lot for. I like to typically take receivers earlier, but just with the depth at receiver in today's league, it has pushed down the priority of these receivers a little bit for me. So when I can wait till the end of round 4 and the end of round 11 and still get DJ Moore and Deebo Samuel, I feel pretty good about it. And this was definitely a spot here where I made a conscious decision too. With Pitts and Kelsey going off the board, I talked about it in our buy and sell episode when I was talking about TJ Hockenson. At tight end, you're either the haves or the have-nots. And there's a lot of tight ends that are disguised as haves that are really more or less have-nots. That's even my boy that I love, Cole Kmet. Like even David Njoku, depending on the situation. Even Dallas Goedert, who was my sell. I know these guys are good names, but to me, the production is not going to be that much different. So I made the conscious decision, you know what? That sucks. I missed tight end. That's a bummer. I'm going to just keep taking the best available player on the board. Right or wrong? I don't know, but that's the way I like to attack it. I'm still going to go with the best player available. So, yeah. That's the other reason I went with Deebo.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you said there are a lot of wide receivers, and for you, that kind of has pushed them down a little bit and kind of prioritized some other things. The only problem with that is you end up with a wide receiver that only has a couple of years left, and then the other guy being Deebo Samuel. I mean, so where are you going to be in 2 years, dude? I mean, that's the only problem I see with your strategy.
Got it. Yeah. No, that totally computes.
So then it goes Dallas Goedert at 6-12, and right into that we go in the 7th round to 7-1. So he double dipped here, Garrett.
He's another tight end double dipper. Went with George Kittle, and look, neither one of those players are bad players, but to me, they're just part of the noise. They're not those elite guys, and so I'm not going to spend.
To be fair, Kittle still. He's not as consistent, but he's still pretty elite, and it's pretty damn good value on Kittle here.
He is very good every once in a while.
He's very good 3 games a year.
It is just very hard to rely on George Kittle. I think his name is bigger than his actual fantasy production because he's a hell of a tight end. He's great for his
real
NFL team.
Real life tight end 5 on a year.
Fantastic.
But look at he's another one of those guys that's in the 12-point range.
12.7 points per game, which is 0.1 point more than David and Joe.
And I bet you if you looked on it, from a every week basis, it's very up and down.
I mean, he had the 1 week where he scored 1.1 points. I'd like to know what was behind that.
Well, and the week before that was 27, and then the week before that was 1.9.
Yeah, so he had 2 dog games.
And then, so he's all over them, a 4-point game, a 5-point game.
PPR, 4.9, 6, 16, 1.9, 27.7, 1.1, 13, 23.9, 20, 22, 4.9, 10. It's just... It's all over the map, and you're up and down. You never know what you're going to get, and it's great if you only have to start him occasionally. But if it's George Kittle, likely you've got him. You at one point paid an amount that you don't love that production week in and week out.
And at that point, I would rather wait 11 rounds and pick up Darren Waller.
Yep.
Or something that.
And sometimes that 12.7 could give you top 3 or 6. I mean, the year before he averaged 13.4 points per game and finished as tight end 3 overall. So I still look at it. I understand you get a little bit of a roller coaster with George Kittle, but like you said, you're going to get a lot of roller coaster with a lot of these guys going forward. So I did think this is really good value. So where do we go after
I
George
get it,
Kittle?
and I think that's just my strategy. Like at that point, I'm just not going to pay for tight end anymore. Like I'm either I get the top guy or I'm out.
All right, so no, I'll take round 7. We already did George Kittle.
Well, Garrett's up. That's why I asked him.
Well, okay.
That's true.
Well, fine then. You go ahead.
Fine.
And then
just
you take it from
do
there.
it.
All right, because we gotta start hustling.
We got.
We're almost at 40 minutes.
Yeah, we knew that was.
Oh
gonna
yeah.
happen.
So listen, we're gonna pick up the pace. That's
In
about
theory.
other people's teams.
So apparently my Siri's on. Look at that. Okay. No,
way
shut
to
up.
Way to pick up the pace there.
Yeah, pick up the pace.
So you picked a 1-1-9 here?
Yes,
Is that
1-8. 1-8.
Okay.
So in the back of my mind, I was hoping that I would get Brock Bowers. I knew it was probably a long shot,
Sure.
But I was hoping maybe he would slip and fall. But if not, then I'm picking up my wide receiver 3 in a really, really strong wide receiver class, giving me a little bit of youth there. But it would also give me leverage if later on I wanted to trade for the tight end that I wanted. So that was kind of my thought process there is everybody gets excited around draft time. Then maybe I can utilize this to get the tight end that I'm going to need because I'm going to need one. Spoiler alert, I have like no tight ends on my whole draft. Like I have one drafted the entire time. Granted, I was going to take Juwan Johnson and then I got auto-picked because I was driving up here. But all of that being said, like I intentionally just made the decision at this point. I'll trade a 3rd-round pick later for Juwan Johnson or I'll take a guy like that and I'll figure out that position because I don't want to pay a premium now. I'd rather figure it out.
And honestly, like 1-8 come draft date, and maybe you're first next year. If you feel like you compete, might be able to get you TJ Hawkinson. Something along those lines.
Absolutely.
So I don't mind it at all. So after Garrett took 1-8, where'd we go, Matt?
We went Jaden Reed for the next pick at 7-3. And that's a fantastic pick right now.
Love it. I consider my last pick.
Yeah.
So love this player. I have him ranked higher than anybody here on the show. And I'm up next at pick 7-4. I do not have a tight end yet. And this
was rare for you.
It was. It's just how, again, this is how the draft played out, which I normally don't let it play out this way, but this draft played out that way.
They're Nerd Herd members. They know. They know.
I was going to reach, but I felt very good about this pick. I'm going to pick a pick at tight end here for a player come off his absolute best year yet, who's only 27. And for the most part, historically, we see tight ends take that big step forward, 27, 28, 29 years old, where they're in their prime. And it's David Njoku. On top of that, I have Deshaun Watson as well. So I get the tight end here that was the number 1 overall tight end from week 8 on. He was the number 1 overall fantasy tight end from week on the second half of the year.
I think that's the hard part for me. If it was Joe Flacco, I would love this pick.
And I get it. But
that. It's not.
I understand as well, but the Browns still need a really good number of tight end. And
it's not.
This is more about the player himself. Like an athletic
he's a
freak,
great player.
A monster, really dominated. I think Stefanski's still the offensive coordinator there. Even though they hired Ken Dorsey, Stefanski will still call the plays. I think David Njoku will still be heavily involved in the game plan. So for me to get a guy who can give me potentially tight end 5, tight end 6 numbers, probably worst case he's tight end 8 and tight end premium, like at least I have a guy that I can count on every single week that I'm no longer reaching for or hoping to turn to better. A guy like Jake Ferguson and a guy like Evan Ingram who I thought I could get value. But I was like, you know what? I'll get David Njoku and I'll just make sure I grab another tight end soon to back that up a little bit more. So I went David Njoku.
All right, so let's, instead of backing this up, let's get it moving forward. 7.5 is Rashad White. I think at this point, that's great value. He was running back 4 on the year. Obviously, none of us here think he's a long-term solution. He's very ineffective still from a yards per carry standpoint.
3.3.
But you can't deny that he outperformed what we all
Drastically.
expected. Yeah.
Good value. And then
7.6, Stephon Diggs. This was the player that or the team that drafted Anthony Richardson, Dak, and then Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, and Stephon Diggs. So this was the win now.
crushed. Yeah. I mean, he's built a really solid win now team.
Yeah, he went from Anthony Richardson, with his first pick, which is a bit of a wild card, to a very stacked kind of win now team. And then next, Peter was up with Chris Godwin at 7.7. 7.8, Kirk Cousins, which this is the pick that we were talking about when the team had Jamar Chase and then CeeDee Lamb as his first 2 picks. And really, I think, saved his team by getting Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins in the 5th and then 7th rounds, respectively.
This pick was... I do think it was the best pick in the draft. And I was even at where I made my 1.8 pick, I was considering Kirk Cousins there. I thought about taking him towards the beginning of the round. And I thought I might even be able to get a quarterback at 1.8 if I really wanted to.
1.8? What are you doing?
Rookie pick 1.8.
Oh, rookie pick 1.8. Okay,
so
sorry.
the beginning of the 7th round.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins was very tempting there.
I thought about Kirk Cousins over in Njoku, and I was like, man, because this would be a really good trade piece. I'll be able to upgrade it. But then for the sake of the startup too, I was like, yeah, but what if I can't? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just going to go ahead
and it's hard. It's just a
I
mock. We don't know how it would really play out. But
I was hoping that he would get back to me and he was going to be my 3rd guy. But I was okay with another
tremendous
guy that was on
value.
the board. So I was okay that I didn't end up getting him. But 7.9, Terry McLaurin. At 7.10, Isaiah Pacheco. 7-11, Jared picked Alvin Kamara.
Around here, back-to-back picks.
Yeah, and then I was up here at 7-12. I ended up going DeAndre Swift. I needed to get a running back here.
It's your first one.
This is my first one, and they really were just dwindling. There wasn't much left on the board. And obviously, Swift had a pretty decent year this year. Missed a little bit of... Or no, he had a little bit of a downturn. I think he actually played all the games, didn't he?
He went from no touches to in week 2 all the touches. Then like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of was meh.
It was some odd usage at times.
Yeah.
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent. He's on a 1-year deal. I
think he's going to come back.
I think he's going to come back as well. And
from the main core of the season, from weeks 2 to week 11 in PPR leagues. So like most of your regular fantasy season, DeAndre Swift was running back 5 overall.
Yeah. He did pretty well.
Just wish he would have helped you in the playoffs a little more.
Correct.
It's Travis Kelce.
Yep.
Didn't help you at all.
And they ended up getting rid of all their coordinators there, right?
Yep.
I mean, and bringing in
starting scratch basically.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So
Sirianni and
it's not my fault. It's all of your guys' fault. I'm just a head coach.
So we'll see what we get out of DeAndre Swift. I would expect that he probably didn't do well enough to go get some big deal elsewhere, and he is a hometown guy there in Philly. So I would expect him to stay as well.
And then they figure it out.
And I think he's going to be a guy that maybe gets utilized a little bit more consistently, hopefully, in this new next offensive system.
Peace out, Kenneth.
At least that's what I'm hoping for this pick.
Hey guys, let me tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Guess what? Our app the mini is live on Sleeper right now. The Dynasty GM.
Pretty.
You can use the analyzer. You can use the trade calculator. And my favorite thing is the inbox, right? Where all your trades from all your Sleeper leagues are right there. You can actually push trades through the actual Sleeper app. And right now, we couldn't be more excited to be partners with them. And right now, if you don't know, they are doing DFS. And I know how many people that play Dynasty play DFS as well. And right now, there's not a better place to play DFS than Sleeper. They're offering up to 100 times your entry, the highest payout in the whole DFS market right now. You can track your fantasy players and your Sleeper picks in real time. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live in-game, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats, and only on Sleeper you can get up to 100 times your payout. You can share with your friends and get rewarded together. Make sure you use that promo code NERD so our friends know that friend sent them their way.
Ooh.
And get your deposit match and have a good time. Have all your DFS, all of your fantasy leagues, and now even a Dynasty GM in one spot. It is fully operational inside Sleeper right now. And then when you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that full access to that. And remember, you also want to download the Dynasty Nerds app because they're both in there. Check it out. Check our friend Sleeper. Check out our DFS. Use that promo code NERDS.
Get your whole estate. And then my next pick, 8-1, I want Javonte Williams. A
Good
guy,
pick.
Yeah.
Good value.
At this point, I feel like is really good value. He's going to be the full year done with his big old knee injury, and Sean Payton is going to unleash him, I think, in year 2 under his system. They brought in Carmichael, who was the Saints offensive coordinator and who was let go. They brought him as an offensive consultant guy. So I think they're just going to make this kind of New Orleans West. Right?
I think the way all three of these teams went, Sedated Fork, Jared, and you, shows exactly why you're able to fade running back in startup drafts. Because here we are in round 7. So you said it went Isaiah Pacheco, who's looked great.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara, who offers great upside. You go DeAndre Swift and Javonte Williams. And then right after them at 8-2 and 8-3, it goes Najee Harris and David Montgomery.
Yep.
Again, really good value at running back. Guys, you 100% can start in your lineup, and they're going here in 8th round. So it does provide you the ability to fade running back. Go get those quarterbacks. Make sure you grab one of those good tight ends. There's so much depth at receiver, but grab some of those good guys, knowing that you're going to get 2 guys that you could start. And yeah, maybe they're short-term windows, but again, all running backs are short-term windows. It's hashtag 2 to 3 year window on those, and you replace those guys in your rookie drafts.
I almost never go away from a startup feeling great about my running backs. Almost never.
Sure.
It's just
because that's not the position that you're
what
valuing.
It's not what I'm focused on. It's not what I'm valuing. I see them just how you presented it there, Rich, as short-term assets. I'll get a guy that is going to last me 2 years or maybe 1 year. And regardless, that's okay because that's how I see most of them. And you just got to keep replenishing that spot. And as long as you're good everywhere else, it does make it a lot easier to hit on late round guys and be trying to get late round or even just make little trades for older guys.
All right, so at 8-4 here, it goes Mike Evans, which, if you can't go wrong with a guy who's consistent wide receiver 1 and going to probably get a good solid 2 to 3 year deal. A lot of fake money.
I was going to say, you think he's gone, right? He's not going to be in Tampa Bay next year.
He said he was going to leave, but they'll have the right amount of money. Everything's on the table.
Sure.
Everything's negotiable. So Mike Evans goes at 8-4. Jake Ferguson goes 8-5, which, if you're looking for a tight end, a guy who can give you tight end 1 numbers, but in that range of a lot of guys' numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think Jake Ferguson showed some stuff this year.
He does.
He looked good.
And in the playoffs, again, it wasn't CeeDee Lamb. It was Jake Ferguson was the target. So when this is a perfect guy to get for like upside, right? Like you're not trapped in that mid-tier bubble. There's still room to grow there with a guy like Jake Ferguson. Definitely for somebody that Dak has a really good rapport. Dak does have a really good rapport with and seems to like. Then it goes Cooper Kupp at 8-6, Brian Robinson at 8-7, Devontae Adams at 8-8, and then I'm going to clock here at 8-9. And I'm looking at some guys, I'm looking at some youth, but when I'm looking at value again, so I'm always trying to get value here from this point on. I have my core in place. Everything else going forward is I'm just looking for value.
Yep.
Because once I get into this range and going on, it's like, okay, I'm looking for players that could trade for higher production or higher than their asset here where I'm drafted them. I could dump them if it doesn't pan out, and I have no long-term value. So I'm just chasing value from this point forward. And I feel like I get pretty good value here in Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk, despite bringing Calvin Ridley and all this other, everything that happened out there, we thought Calvin Ridley would suffer Christian Kirk would suffer because of Calvin Ridley. He did not. He was still a very, very good fantasy football wide receiver all the way up until he got hurt. And he
missed the last 5 games, it looks like.
So he missed the last 5 games. So
and that's when Ridley really started taking off again.
Correct. So weeks 1 through, let's see here.
13, I think.
So weeks 1 through 13, week 1, he wasn't able to do anything at all. So I'm going to go from weeks 2 through 13 here.
We're going to cherry pick a little more.
Yeah.
It's still good.
Make sure to get the good ones.
You know, he was
Take out week 7.
He was a low end wide receiver 2, who I got as my wide receiver 4.
Sure.
So this is somebody, and again, Calvin Ridley's a free agent, so he's leaving. Now the Jaguars would be smart enough to get ahead there and grab a young receiver, but Christian Kirk's still on a money deal. He's still going to have a good rapport with Trevor Lawrence. So I was like, man, I'm getting somebody who can put up wide receiver 2 numbers as my wide receiver 4. This gives me a really good ammo for when somebody needs wide receiver help to go out there and make a trade, whether it be for rookie picks or a position of need, especially a running back shouldn't be any problem whatsoever getting for like Christian Kirk. So this screen value on a player, like I don't have a lot of shares of Christian Kirk, almost none.
He was wide receiver 12 in 2022. That was before Calvin Ridley got there.
Yeah, with Trevor Lawrence. So a wide receiver, when Calvin Ridley wasn't there, was a wide receiver 1 overall. And I couldn't pass the value. I considered George Pickens here, but I can't. He's kind of a knucklehead. Like I don't feel as secure about Christian. Christian Kirk seemed like a nice safe pick for me.
Yeah.
With
plus Arthur Smith. I mean,
did we know that at this point? At least I didn't when I made my next pick. I didn't know it until right after I made my next pick, and then I checked Twitter and I was like, "Son of a gun!"
This is
so it goes George Pickens actually next at 8:10, and then Garrett, you're on the clock here at 8:11.
I felt great until I saw the news about getting Deontay Johnson here. Guy, he's a steady receiver. I thought, you know what? They can't be an offensive coordinator that's worse than Matt Canada that they're going to hire.
Oh, there can be.
Oh, my gosh. The Steelers are basically just a watered-down version of what he already had in Atlanta. 2 pass-catching options, but not as good as the 2 that were in Atlanta. And a big physical back that isn't as good as Bijan Robinson. He's going to make this bad offense even worse. So I don't feel nearly as good about this pick as when I actually made the pick as I did 3 minutes later when I saw Twitter and I was like, oh my gosh.
Should have taken Amari Cooper.
If I would have known that, I 100% would have taken Amari
What do
Cooper.
you think is going to happen to the Twitterverse when Jalen Warren gets all the carries?
Oh my gosh.
Just everyone.
They bring back Jalen Samuels and he's the leading rusher.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be something bad.
Yeah.
He's going to do something.
The 7th round draft pick they take.
So after Garrett takes Deontay Johnson at 8:11, at 8:12 it goes Nick Chubb, upside running back. So
huge upside.
We're through 8 rounds here, and I know we're at almost an hour.
Yep.
So we don't want to cheat this draft.
We don't.
So what we're going to do for the Nerd Herd is we're going to give the Nerd Herd then. I mean, we still have 12 more rounds to go. So there's still some good players to talk about.
And we want to break down our thoughts. I think that's the big thing is like why we did what we did.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move the last 12 rounds to the Nerd Herd episode.
We still got to go really fast because we've only
So
we've averaged 4 rounds.
We've done 8.
So we're gonna talk a little bit more in depth about the back end, which is
Special
honestly
bonus 4-hour Nerd episode.
really important information too,
It
because
is,
these are
it
players
is.
that are like, this is the difference between winning a championship and not winning a championship. Your depth, right? Like we're looking at depth here and what kind of upside you can get. So
there was an oddity that happened in the second half that I want to discuss.
And there's still first round draft picks.
Bingo. That's the biggest thing that I was surprised in all of this is how late a lot of these picks went. So I started getting a little pick happy because they were too good a value.
Hey, can I be full disclosure too?
You forgot about the picks, didn't you?
I did not forget about the picks. I didn't want to go through and count all the kickers to see what pick was which.
You forgot about the sheet.
So first of all,
Wait, there was a sheet? I just counted every
You
time.
forgot the sheet too.
What sheet?
So
It was in the chat. There was a sheet tracking all of the
I didn't know
rookie
that.
picks.
Oh, I didn't know there was a sheet.
Rookie
And
mistakes.
Here's the problem with me. Unfortunately, I am colorblind. So
that makes it even harder if
So-
you didn't know there was a sheet.
on Sleeper, the wide receivers and the kickers look exactly the same to me. Like exactly the same. I see the very subtle difference between the wide receiver. I'm looking at it right now.
It's because it's purple and blue.
So they look almost exactly the same to me. So I didn't want to take the time because I know we were pressed for time to get this
Right.
draft done at this point. I didn't want to go through and count all the kickers and see what
If
pick
you
it
would have known
was.
there was a sheet, that would have changed the game for you.
Maybe. I don't know because I'm still happy with the players I got.
Sure.
So before we deploy, so that was my problem. I was like, dude, why wouldn't we pick like defensive players or something so I can count these easier because they look exactly the same. I could not differentiate the two.
I didn't even know what picks I was getting at some points. I was like, I just want.
I just want rookie.
Yeah.
No, I don't want any of these players.
I saw at one point, man, it's like, I'm just taking rookie picks. I don't care what it was. Now, I will say that would have had a lot more say in my future picks on what picks were available. But again, being colorblind, I always feel like I was being taken advantage of for my disabilities. And
there was a sheet.
I see it now.
I'm gonna
draft pick tracker.
gonna make a sign and I'm gonna protest somewhere because I am being taken advantage. I'm being, prejudiced against it.
I'm being prejudiced against.
So before we wrap up the show, let's go through and say where we're at through 8 rounds with our team. Garrett, you go first. From the 1-2 spot through 8 rounds, where are you?
I have Josh Allen, Breece Hall, Justin Fields, DJ Moore, Tajay Spears, Deebo Samuel, the 1-8 pick, and Deontay Johnson.
I'm at 1-4, and I have Justin Herbert, Marvin Harrison Jr.
The 1-3.
The 1-3.
But it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
The 1-3.
Garrett Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kenneth Walker, Tank Dell,
1-3.
David Njoku, Christian Kirk, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
And from 12, all right, I had Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Jalen Waddle, Dalton Kincaid, Jackson Smith-Njigba, T. Higgins, DeAndre Swift, and Favorite Williams.
And if you want to mess with Jared at all, if you hate his team and let him know it, or you love his team and don't want to let him know it,
I actually like his team.
he has Caleb Williams.
He is the first and second draft picks.
Drake May, pick 1-1, 1-2. Chris Olave, Jonathan Taylor,
Marvin Harrison Jr.,
DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris.
And that's it.
Marvin Harrison Jr. I can't believe just now I'm thinking about this right now, 12 hours later, that I didn't draft Leonard Fournette to be my tight end. I done messed up. Leroy Jenkins. That in round
20.
So we'll pick this up in the Nerd Herd. Again, we have Nerd Herd content as well, bonus shows. So if you enjoy the show, leave it a rating and review. If you want to get all this extra action, get to dynastynerds.com. Join the Nerd Herd. You get access to the app fully. Sleeper Mini is fully accessible on Sleeper with a full GM membership. The film room, the prospect grades, all that and more, and how much stuff we have in the pipeline coming to Nerds just in 2024 and the app in 2024. Whoo, you want to get on this action now. Take advantage, get in there, leave us a rating review on the podcast. We'll be back next week with our 10-year anniversary show.
What?
Unbelievable.
Adios.